The city was a living thing, a concrete jungle that never slept. Always moving, always buzzing, millions of lives intertwined, their stories echoing off the walls of towering apartment buildings. Each building held 1,000 secrets, 1,000 whispers of joy and sorrow. And in one such building, nestled among the countless windows glowing with life, lay apartment 303, a place where shadows danced and secrets refused to stay buried. This wasn't a story about ghosts or ghouls. It was about the things that haunt us when our eyes are wide open, the things that whisper in the dead of night and tug at the edges of our sanity. This is the story of Sarah Davis and the apartment that consumed her. A story of fear and desperation, where the line between reality and nightmare blurred until there was nothing left but the chilling truth. Sarah Davis was ready for a change. The city had always called to her, a siren song of opportunity and excitement. She yearned for a fresh start, a chance to reinvent herself amidst the bustling energy of city life. And now, staring at the keys in her hand, she felt a surge of hope. Apartment 303, her own little haven in the city that never sleeps. The boxes lay forgotten in the corner as Sarah surveyed her new home. The apartment was larger than she remembered, the high ceilings casting long shadows in the dim light. But something wasn't right. It wasn't the silence, or the faint scent of dust and something else she couldn't quite place. It was the feeling that she wasn't alone. The apartment felt lived in, yet strangely vacant. A worn couch sat in the middle of the room, its cushions indented as though someone had just risen from it. A low coffee table held a half-full glass of water, condensation clinging to its surface. Sarah could have sworn it hadn't been there a moment ago. The longer Sarah stood there, the more unsettling the silence became. It wasn't the peaceful quiet of an empty apartment. It was the heavy silence of a room holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. The air seemed to thicken, pressing down on her with an almost physical weight. The living room was bathed in the orange glow of the streetlights, the furniture casting long, distorted shadows on the walls. The photographs above the fireplace seemed to gleam in the darkness, the faces within staring out at her with an unnerving intensity. But there was no one else there. Sarah scanned the room again, her eyes searching every corner. The whispers had vanished, leaving only a ringing silence in their wake. Had she imagined it? Her grip on her phone tightened. Maybe it was just the stress of moving the exhaustion playing tricks on her mind. She took a step back towards the hallway, her gaze lingering on the photographs one last time, and that's when she saw it. The landlord's office was a testament to neglect, a dim and cluttered space where the air hung heavy with the scent of stale cigarette smoke and forgotten dreams. Sarah pushed open the door, the hinges groaning in protest, and stepped inside. Mrs. Halloway, a woman whose age was etched into the lines on her face like a forgotten map, sat hunched over a mountain of paperwork, her expression a mask of indifference. "That apartment," Mrs. Halloway began, her voice barely a whisper, as though she were revealing a secret she had sworn never to speak of again. "It's been empty for years. No one stays there for long." Her words hung in the air, each syllable heavy with unspoken meaning, a warning disguised as a simple statement of fact. Sarah leaned forward, her own breath catching in her throat. "Tragedy," Mrs. Halloway said simply, her voice devoid of emotion, as though she had spoken the word so many times that it had lost all meaning. "It happens, especially in a city like this." She pushed a key across the desk towards Sarah. "Here," she said, "take this one." The weight of the key to apartment 305 felt heavy in Sarah's hand, a physical manifestation of the choice she now faced. Mrs. Halloway's warning echoed in her ears, a chilling reminder of the unknown dangers that lurked within the walls of apartment 303. But fear was a fickle companion, easily outweighed by the weight of her belongings left behind, a tangible link to the life she had so carefully built for herself. The stairwell was dimly lit, the flickering fluorescent lights casting long dancing shadows that seemed to writhe and contort with each step she took. The air hung heavy with the scent of dust and decay, a testament to the building's age and the secrets it held within its aging walls. The hallway stretched out before her, an unbroken expanse of faded wallpaper and flickering gaslight sconces. But something was wrong, terribly wrong. Sarah's breath hitched in her throat, her mind struggling to reconcile what her eyes refused to see. There, where apartment 303 should have stood, was nothing but a smooth, uninterrupted wall. The door, the one she had entered countless times, the one with the tarnished brass numerals proclaiming it as apartment 303, was gone. A sharp, insistent vibration cut through the silence, jolting Sarah from her stunned disbelief. Her phone. She fumbled in her pocket, her fingers trembling as she pulled it out, the screen casting an eerie glow on her pale face. An unknown number flashed across the screen, the digits seeming to burn themselves into her memory. Swallowing hard, she opened the message. The words were short, simple, yet filled with an undercurrent of malice that sent shivers down her spine. The silence in the hallway pressed in on Sarah, suffocating her with its weight. She wanted to run, to escape the oppressive atmosphere of the building, but her feet felt rooted to the spot, frozen in place by a growing sense of dread. Then she heard it, a sound that sent a shiver down her spine and made her blood run cold, a knock. A single sharp rap on wood echoing in the silence of the hallway. It came from the spot where apartment 303 should have been, from the blank wall that had replaced the doorway. Her eyes darted to the wall, her breath catching in her throat as she watched in disbelief. The wallpaper rippled, the intricate floral pattern distorting and swirling as if caught in a sudden unseen breeze. Slowly, agonizingly, the outline of a door began to reappear, the wood grain emerging from the swirling wallpaper like a photograph developing in a darkroom. The brass doorknob materialized next, its surface tarnished and cold to the touch. And finally, the number 303 shimmered into existence on the doorplate, the numerals gleaming under the dim hallway light, as if inviting her in, daring her to cross the threshold into the unknown. The door creaked open, revealing a pitch-black void beyond, a darkness so profound that it seemed to devour the light, swallowing it whole and leaving nothing but an abyss of shadows. A low, guttural growl emanated from within the apartment, a sound that seemed to vibrate deep within Sarah's chest, stirring a primal fear that she had never known existed. Days melted into weeks, each one an agonizing echo of the last. The silence of Sarah's absence was deafening, a void that swallowed the laughter and light she had once brought to her friends' lives. The police investigation, hampered by the lack of concrete evidence and the unsettling circumstances surrounding her disappearance, had long since gone cold. Her friends and family, their initial hope fading into a dull ache of despair, were left to grapple with the agonizing possibility that she was gone, lost to the labyrinthine heart of the city that never sleeps. Whispers of Sarah's fate circulated through the building, carried on the stale air that seeped from the vents and under the cracks of the doors. Some whispered of a fight with a lover, a desperate flight to escape a past she couldn't outrun. Others, their voices hushed and their eyes darting nervously towards the third-floor landing, spoke of darker forces at play, of a presence that lurked within the walls of the building, preying on the vulnerable and the lost. In her friend's apartment, Sarah's belongings remained untouched, a silent testament to a life abruptly interrupted. A half-finished knitting project lay abandoned on the coffee table, the needles still in place as if she would return at any moment to pick up where she left off. A worn copy of her favorite book rested on the nightstand, its pages dog-eared and filled with handwritten notes in the margins. And in the closet, her clothes hung undisturbed, their colors muted in the dim light, a poignant reminder of the vibrancy she had brought to their lives. A vibrancy that was now nothing more than a fading memory. The city, indifferent to Sarah's disappearance, continued its relentless march forward, its rhythm unbroken, its heartbeat a constant thrum of activity that swallowed the echoes of the past. New tenants moved into the building, their faces a revolving door of indifference, their lives too consumed by the daily grind to question the whispers that clung to the stairwells, or the shadows that seemed to linger a little too long in the corners of the third-floor hallway. But Sarah's memory lingered, a ghost haunting the thoughts of those who had known her, a whisper on the wind that carried the scent of her favorite perfume, or the echo of her laughter in a crowded room. Her friends, their grief a shared burden, clung to the hope that they would one day find answers, that the mystery of her disappearance would unravel, revealing the truth, no matter how painful it might be. They retraced her steps, revisiting the places she frequented, hoping for a clue, a sign, anything that would shed light on her fate. They spoke to her neighbors, their questions met with shrugs and evasive answers, their inquiries dismissed as the morbid curiosity of strangers. But still they persisted, driven by a love that refused to be extinguished, a loyalty that transcended the boundaries of life and death. They refused to let Sarah's memory fade into obscurity, her story lost in the cacophony of the city. They would find her. They had to. One evening, as the sun began its final descent, casting long shadows across the city, a moving van pulled up to the curb outside the apartment building. Daniel, a young man with eager eyes and a suitcase full of dreams, stepped out onto the sidewalk, his gaze drawn to the imposing facade of the building, its windows glowing like 1,000 watchful eyes. He had finally made it, he thought, a sense of accomplishment washing over him. This was his chance, his opportunity to make his mark on the world. Clutching a worn piece of paper with the apartment number scrawled across it, he made his way into the building, the scent of dust and old regrets clinging to the air like a shroud. The brass numerals gleamed under the dim hallway light. 303, his new start. He slid the key into the lock, the mechanism turning with a satisfying click. The door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit apartment, its silence a tangible presence, its stillness a canvas waiting to be filled with the echoes of his life. But as Daniel stepped across the threshold, a cold draft seemed to seep out of the apartment, wrapping around him like an icy embrace, sending a shiver down his spine. And in the distance, barely audible above the creaking of the floorboards beneath his feet, he could have sworn he heard a faint whisper, a name that sent a chill down his spine and made him question. The city, indifferent to his arrival, continued its relentless hum, its symphony of noise drowning out the whispers of warning. And in the silence of apartment 303, a presence stirred, its hunger awakened by the arrival of a new soul, ripe for the taking. The game had begun anew.